process. In the process sessions, we talk about how we deliver value in our business. Topics here include lean tools and thinking, operational excellence, sustainability, and digital transformation. In the people sessions, we look beyond the process to the who, discussing topics like leadership, teams, culture, and professional development. Never Mind the Buzzwords isn't just an event that you attend, it's an event to participate in. So get involved in the conversation, put your camera on if you can, share your thoughts, ideas, or questions in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself. And don't forget to stay in touch. We have a LinkedIn group where we upload resources and recordings from this community. And if you follow Never Mind the Buzzwords on Eventbrite, you'll be notified whenever we post a new event.
Well, top of the morning to everyone. As I said, Matthias is saying afternoon to us because he's on the mainland, so it's afternoon already in Maastricht. But it's still morning here in Kildare and in Naas in particular. Delighted to see you all here again today for this process session of Never Mind the Buzzwords. And this is actually the second time we've kind of come at this sustainable business model canvas, because there was a lot of interest in it the last time afterwards. A lot of people picked it up online afterwards as well. So we said we kind of bring it back for a second round, because it leads into innovation, and it leads into just improving the way we do things as well. So joined today by Sophie Deans, who's a green coach with us here in Jigsaw Better Business, who'll be chiming in on her actually using the canvas with with clients, and the impact that it's actually had for them as well. Okay, perfect. So we'll get started. Just start with just introducing this concept of a wicked problem. Okay, and we often talk about sustainability as being a wicked problem. A wicked problem is that kind of social or cultural problem that's really difficult or impossible to solve, because either it's so complex or it's so interconnected with so many other things that are going on in society at the moment as well. Wicked problems often lack clarity in both, what it is that we're trying to achieve from them and what the actual solutions actually tend to be as well. But there's more than just, actually, let me just check here as my presentation is going haywire and moving on by itself. And go back. The thing with wicked problems is, as I said, they're difficult to solve. I mean, we often think back to the example of cane toads in Australia, where cane toads were actually were introduced as a species to help get rid of a destructive insect from the sugarcane crop, where in fact has come in and actually done so much more harm than the actual original species actually had done as well. So these are the kind of concepts of wicked problems, and they tend to fall in these categories of these 7 wicked problems. Okay, and you see climate collapse right at the top here. We have inequality, extremism, war, corruption, health and livelihood, population and migration issues as well. And look, the reality is when you look at these kind of wicked 7 problems that are listed here, kind of feels like we're living in a time when all of these are actually happening at the moment. Okay, we're seeing a war, seeing corruption, we're seeing equality or inequality, extremism. Is there. We don't hear an awful lot about it in the news at the moment, but it is still there. And then obviously with changes in health and lifestyle of people as well, it's also growing there as well. So wicked problems are there for all. And remember that it's got that social complexity and interdependencies, which makes them a real issue to kind of to tackle and to deal with. And that's why I'm kind of a big fan of this tool, this triple bottom line approach to sustainability, especially sustainability in business. And it kind of sets out that there's, when we go and address this issue from a business's perspective, that it actually does satisfy this triple bottom line. We're familiar with the traditional bottom line, which is profit, okay, which is what everyone in business is concerned with. We can see the Wicket 7 screen. Guys, what can you see at the moment?
Stuart, it's just the wicket problem. With the witch on it, we can't actually see the other wicket problems there on the screen.
Okay, let me see if we can make this better. Now, what can you see?
Yeah, super on to the bottom line now.
No, okay,
So
perfect.
Lovely.
Okay. So the triple bottom line approach then really what it aims to do is it aims to kind of look at when we go about changing things and improving things in the business or addressing problems within the business, that we make sure that yes, the traditional bottom line is dealt with in terms of profit and savings and costs, but that it also serves people and it also serves the planet as well. And where these kind of interact, we get solutions that are bearable on the planet and people. We get solutions that are equitable, both to the business in terms of financially and for the people, and then things that are viable between the planet and between the business as well. And right at the heart of that really is truly sustainable innovation and sustainable business models. So how can we go about doing that? Well, we can use a tool called a sustainability model canvas, which is built on a business model canvas. So many of you would be familiar with a business model canvas. I might get you just to pop in the chat.
Are you back, Stuart?
I'm back.
Super.
Yeah, it's actually Zoom that is dying as opposed to the internet for a change. Zoom keeps dying. Can you see my screen?
Not yet, no.
Okay, let me just reshare the screen. Now, can we see it?
Yes, good to go.
Okay, brilliant. All that's waiting on is my camera to go green, and we'll have the trifecta of what can go wrong, will go wrong on Stuart's Zoom of the day as well. So we'll wait for the camera to go green, and we'll be good. I might just get you to pop in the chat if you're familiar with the business model canvas, or it is actually something that you have used before. Something that a lot of businesses make use of, especially when it comes to documenting how they create, deliver, and capture value. So yeah, just pop in a yes or a no in the chat if it's something that you've used before. If you have used it, then what the sustainability business model canvas is, it's actually built on top of the business model canvas. So what it does is, in the past, what we would have used with a business model canvas is we'd actually take a business model canvas and we'd look at external factors and we'd question, how do these external factors test our business model? And in the past, what we would have done is we'd have our business model canvas up on the wall, and then we'd put like sustainability, and we'd put climate change, and we'd put war, and we'd put recession on posters on the outside, and we'd question our business model and the impact it'll have. And what the good people at Treeability have actually done is they've basically just redesigned the business model canvas, but they redesigned it with that social, or with that sustainability lens on it. So it's an extended version of the business model canvas, but really it starts to drill down on the business model canvas from that environmental and that sustainability perspective. And really what it looks at is that economical, the environmental, and the socio-cultural aspects of it as well, and really start to kind of help us identify and tackle that triple bottom line approach. Like with the actual business model canvas that we may have used in the past, what it does is it looks to come up with innovative business models that we can use to actually hit that triple bottom line approach. Likewise, in the chat, I might just get everyone just to pop in if they've actually seen the sustainability canvas before today as well, or if they've actually used it. And we're going to go through the building blocks of it now, and some innovations that you can use, and then I'm going to bring Sophie in for a point as well. So see, Robert there says no, he hasn't seen it before. Kelly, no. A couple of no's coming in there as well. Emma, no. Afraid not. No, not at all. Okay. So look, as I said, we'll go through it today, and then obviously, as usual, we can share the resources and examples and templates on it as well, with you as well. So the first building block is the partners. Okay. And here within the partner section, it's about kind of starting to question who our suppliers are, who are the people that we work with from a corporate perspective. And what's their environmental, what's their sustainability credentials? Are they the most sustainable partner that we can actually get? And what are they doing? And quite often we can improve what we do by looking at what our suppliers do as well, and starting to build that into our supply chain as well. So it's looking towards our partners first and foremost. Next up is our sustainable value creation. So here within sustainable value creation and our tech and resources, is what are the activities that we do? So in the business model canvas, this would have been key activities, but what are the activities we do? And what's the impact of those activities? And are there ways to change those activities that would be more sustainable as well? Likewise with the tech and resources, so what are we consuming to create value within our organization? So what natural resources do we use? What energy do we use? What technical resources? And then what can we do to substitute them and find alternatives? In terms of our value creation, so what problems are we actually solving in the world? Okay, that's what our value is all about. What problems do we solve for our broader customers? And then do we have a sustainable value proposition? So are we solving any problems that are helping the environment, that are feeding into that triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit? And then in terms of our customer relations, what type of relationships do we have? What are our current relationships, and what are our channels for distribution? Okay, and in this channels for distribution, we should be thinking about what are the circular channels that we can use. What's the life cycle of our product, which then also covered up in the next section as well, which is end of life. But how are we getting our value that we create? How are we getting it out to our customers in the most sustainable way? Then in terms of our customers, and I think Sophie has some stories on this for later on in terms of responsible customers, what are we doing to educate our customers? What are we doing to advise our customers of the impact that their consumption of our product is? How we can advise them to, treat their packaging that they've bought our product in a different way? How can we get them to change their behavior, which perhaps has less impact on the way we go about creating value as well? And likewise, that end of life piece, making sure that we've designed into our product a sustainable end of life solution for it, but also that our customers are aware of it as well. In terms of our costs and structures, likewise here, same as with the traditional business model canvas, what does it cost us to actually to deliver all the things internally? But now that we've actually looked at things that are innovating on things that are more sustainable, what subsidization is out there for? So what could we get back? I mean, if we were to make savings, could we get grant aid? Could we get assistance that would actually help subsidize a more environmentally sound product that we can, or service we can make or deliver? Or is there a sustainability premium? And again, we'll talk with Sophie a bit more about this later on as well. Would our customers ever be willing to pay more or a little bit extra for something that cost a bit more to produce, but it does have better credentials from a sustainability perspective as well? So really, with this sustainability business model canvas, what we're trying to do is we're taking our business, we're looking at our business as we would have done over the 9 building blocks of the business model canvas, and we're starting to question, how do we create, deliver, and capture value in a new way, but a more sustainable way? And when we're asking and answering these questions by ourselves, we're gonna say, can we do this in a more sustainable way? Can we do this in a way that supports our people better, our communities better, the planet better, and all the while helping support the bottom line of the business? Sophie, do you have anything to add into that before we move on to the impact?
Yeah, I'm cautious, I suppose, when you go through it piece by piece. It looks like quite a lot. And to be fair, there is a certain level of work that goes into it, but I do think it flows quite naturally. What I would kind of say, like, this is something I do with nearly every client that we kind of come into contact with, is, there's a tendency to kind of, think, oh, my customers wouldn't do this, and they don't really care about this, and, we can't generate revenue from, introducing a sustainable practice or policy. What I would say is they're valid points completely, but I suppose don't write yourself off too soon. Reach for the stars and I suppose a certain light. Are some of your customers willing to pay extra for a sustainability premium? It's, you'd be surprised what you can get out of the canvas. I was just thinking of something there when you were going through the sustainable partners. In the past, what we've kind of done is try to create, an industrial symbiosis. So linking up with who would typically be, a customer's competitors. We've kind of guided clients, reaching out to those in their community and saying, well, if I had a client and they couldn't take on the burden of, completely switching over to, let's say, compostable packaging at first, we might, reach out to people that they would kind of come across in their industry and say, look, I can't do it by myself. Do you feel like you'd like to come along with me and do this, and kind of create, I suppose, a mutually beneficial relationship between them? So you'd kind of be surprised what kind of pops up during the process of it. But I know you asked there, I suppose, do you use it quite frequently? And this would be something I'd use nearly every day. And, I don't come from a business background. Typically, I'm purely science. So I think it's quite user friendly anyway. But yeah, I think it's beneficial overall anyway, Stuart.
Yeah, and it's I know you're with your science background, you say you don't come from a business background. A lot of people in business don't come from a business background.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really important, that a lot of people have ended up, perhaps they're a scientist, or they've developed a lotion, a cream, a food product, they're a chef, whatever it is, they've ended up in a place where they've made something with their real skill, and now they've ended up in selling it and having a business. And I mean, that's where we largely work with businesses in that context of supporting them to help run this business and have this great idea that they have and make it, make a living from it, primarily, as well. So as I said, yeah, this tool, I mean, we've given it a whistle stop tour in 9 minutes with Zoom interruptions. But you're right. I mean, if I understand correctly, and I notice when I use it, I mean, this is a tool that we take out on a shared screen or in person on the wall, and we would spend a day, over the course of 8 hours over the course of a week or so, digging and asking questions around this. And it really is going back to, remember that core concept of a business model canvas. How does my business create, deliver, and capture value? Okay.
Yeah.
And now what we're saying is, yes, document how your business creates, deliver, and capture the values, but now interrogate it from a sustainability perspective, and start asking probing questions using this tool, from a sustainability perspective. Things like subsidy, going out, what supports are available from the government there to be more sustainable, bringing them in as additional revenue streams, considering your product from end of life. So it's really just pointing you or targeting you in areas to go and ask more about your business and what it actually does. So yeah, look, we've had a whistle stop tour of it, but really it's a more drawn out collaborative process, and a reflection document, on your actual business. What we didn't talk about up here are these positive and negative impacts. I'm going to cover them a bit more detail now. These positive and negative impacts we complete in an additional tool called a sustainability impact canvas. And the sustainability impact canvas looks at both your positive impact and your negative impact across first, second, and third order effects. Okay, so that's direct, indirect, and systemic kind of effects, as well. And really what we want to do in terms of the positive impacts, we want to maximize them. Okay, obviously the better it is. So maximizing first order effects might be about capturing waste or emissions at your product or your technology level. Okay, so using materials that are considered waste or currently polluting the environment, and using them to remake or redo your product as well. Benefits here of kind of maximizing first order, maximizing positive impacts, here is lowering manufacturing costs, getting subsidization, we're going to struggle with for that, and obviously brand benefits as well. Some risks, you know, as if we're driving down waste and plastic, and we're using plastic to make recycled plastic to make our products, the unstable future supply of that product might be an issue as well. And we've seen this here where people are taking plastic from the ocean and making shoes, or fish nets and making bags, anything that's using reclaimed or recycled material. What they're doing is they're maximizing the capture of waste or emissions from the environment, and using it for a new product service. Next of all, what we want to do is we want to minimize the life cycle impact of technology. So same in that first order impact, we want to minimize the negative impact on our product. And really what we'll get to here is we want to design our products and service for longevity and resilience. So having like modular products, things that can be updated over time, creating designs that are timeless, so they don't age or they don't date too well. They're not of the now and will look out of place pretty soon. Using low impact kind of raw materials, optimizing the production process, decarbonizing the distribution process. Anything we can do to lower the impact of our products here as well. Again, the benefits here, you know, it's good for the business. It reduces energy material costs. It's good for customers, so customers find it attractive as well. And really, if we think of examples here in terms of especially modularity, the likes of the Fairphone, or electronics recycling schemes, preemptive placing of kind of lead solars, anything like that. These are all cases where we look to offset the life cycle impact. I know a lot of people, I'm not sure what the age profile of people is on the call today, but any of us who are homeowners who have tried to fix their washing machine and realize that it's a sealed unit and you can't actually fix a washing machine or a dishwasher or anything anymore. None of it's fixable. It works, it doesn't work. It's not economically viable to get it repaired, you know. So that's an example of perhaps a life cycle issue that will need to change within the home appliance environment to make those products more fixable and serviceable and economically viable to do that as well. Next thing we want to look at is maximizing our optimization and substitution potential. So this is the application of technology or product to the indirect kind of effects as well. Really, we talk about, as I said, optimization here. So improving technology to optimize our energy or our fuel, use. Substitution, so identifying disruptive qualities, digitalization, virtualizing, reducing the volume of materials that go into what we do. Again, benefits for the provider and the customer here, higher customer value, higher market potential, and really, you know, likes of paperless billing, virtual meetings, which we're all on here as well. There was a time in the past we would have tried to get everybody into a room to have this conversation about sustainability. 20 cars driving to the one area to hear about how we can save fuel, where COVID has brought this kind of innovation on us as well. The next area of the impact canvas we're going to look at is this concept of minimizing the planned obsolescence and induction. Okay, so really similar to the first part, you know, making sure that our products have low energy and their resource usage is good, but that they just that they can actually be that the obsolescence is lowered in it as well. From here, that means kind of matching real software life cycles to the hardware life cycles, identifying and minimizing previously non-existent forms of resource consumption, and just making sure that what we've supplied to our customers doesn't actually go out of date. And then lastly, in terms of the societal structure change, we're going to maximize incentivization and smart decision making. And we'll hear talks about gamification here, but using kind of like incentives and personalization to get people to behave better, okay? Nudge people towards more sustainable behavior patterns as well, and towards making better decisions. And then in part 6, minimizing the systematic risks and rebound effects here as well. really we want to take into account increasing resource consumption, of the scale at which the economies are growing as well, and making sure that that doesn't have an impact on what we do. Smart vending machines would be an example of this. Reduce energy costs, increase segregated vending machine spend and energy use. So optimizing resources like that helps us to minimize this particular area as well. Sophie, if you want to add in on that?
Yeah, I suppose the impact canvas is great purely because it kind of acts as an honest accounting tool. So you might find, look, I suppose there's a hesitancy to actually put on paper what you're doing poorly. But when you give people a chance and say, look, this is, you know, I could do this really well, or this might work for me versus, you know, this might not, I think it's quite beneficial that way. And again, the three-tiered system is quite good as well. So yeah, again, similar to this model canvas, it's super beneficial. And it's something that we've kind of come across quite often too.
Yeah, and it's again, it's a conversation starter, really, you know. It's a conversation starter, and we feed the outputs of this positive and negative impact back into the top of the model canvas. So we have them there, but we do this work kind of separately off the main canvas, and feed the high level back in as well. Again, it's just about asking the questions, challenging what we do, and taking a deeper dive. Really what we're trying to get to is innovation. I mean, and this is always our favorite piece. And sometimes it's easy to jump to the innovations, and we also have to kind of pull people back to make sure we're solving the right problems, as opposed to just coming up with something with other ideas. So car parking is often necessary when you're using something like the sustainability model canvas. So that if you do come up with an idea, that it's somewhat placed on hold and out of the way until we get a chance to actually to deal with it a bit better. So some sample innovations here. I'll go through some, and then I'll bring Sophie in, and she can share some of the ones that perhaps her clients have taken recently as well. The concept of a local loop, okay, shouldn't be news to any of us here. Buying local, you know, sourcing your products or your raw materials from somewhere close by to where you're doing the manufacturing. This might mean finding a local supplier, or maybe even moving your production to where the raw materials are as well. Really what you're trying to do here is just change the kind of local, reduce the local rebound effects, and have a positive impact here by reducing costs and the environmental footprint, you know, optimizing logistics, and really supporting kind of local economy. We're taking the stuff out of the ground in one place, and we create the jobs and the work and the high value employment there as well. So obvious, we've been talking about it for forever, you know, shop local, buy local, get things as close to the point of manufacture as you can as well. Dematerialization. So if we jump in on any of these, if you want, if you don't want to wait till the end.
I actually might jump in
yeah.
now. I was going to wait to the end, but it's, you know, when we're the local loop kind of thing is something that comes up with pretty much, I suppose, every small business or every micro business in Ireland. And it kind of feeds into, you know, the social aspect of the triple bottom line, in that, you know, you're supporting local entrepreneurs and local businesses. You're also putting money into local economies. It's something that, you know, if you're kind of ask me, you know, what's something that motivates, you know, entrepreneurs in Ireland, it's really buying local, supporting those in their community who've supported them. So that's something that we kind of see with everyone. And yeah, it's the idea of getting to as close as the point of manufacture as possible. I suppose if we look at it from a wider scale, we have, you know, the reduced emissions and reduced cost from storage and that kind of thing. But it all comes down to just supporting those in your locality.
Next one up then is dematerialization. Dematerialization, you know, is what it is. You know, can we reduce the amount of materials used in the production of our products? And And I mean, we would have come at this, and I know we see some lean practitioners on the call here as well. We would have come at this from a lean and Six Sigma. You know, I mean, what's the amount of product that you need to put in to get the yield? Can you adjust that and still have the structure and that you need to meet the client's upper and lower specification limits as well? So really, really, really lean and Six Sigma thing here. You know, can you hit the same quality, the same performance metrics as the customer actually requires with less product, okay, with the consumption of less raw material. And you will have seen Six Sigma projects happen up and down the country for the last number of decades, all aiming to do this. You know, what can we do to hit the specification with less raw materials as well? Yes, there is a financial benefit to that, but there's an environmental benefit to it as well. And this kind of comes back to that kind of triple bottom line about it as well. So reducing costs, reducing consumed resources, and reducing environmental footprint as well. And you can see here, you know, I don't know what I looked at recently. I'm actually taking an example. That was like now contains less plastic or 15% less plastic. And I had to question was there was plastic in that in the first place. But obviously it was necessary. It might have been a Tetra Pak or a milk carton that was recyclable or compostable or something, but actually has plastic in it. So yeah, so reducing the volume of raw materials that goes in. Next one up, you're going to come in, Sophie?
Yeah, I was just gonna make a point. Sometimes it's just it's inertia for some people. You know, they do it because it's always been done that way. So it's kind of like it's not that they're unwilling to change. It's just something they might not even thought about. To be honest, you know, it's just habit at this stage. But that is something, look, I'd come across it all the time, same as yourself. You know, looking for ways to kind of keep the integrity of the product and the service is super important. But look, where can we reduce and how do we do it?
Yeah,
So
and one of the things, and you know, but as well as is the likes of packaging. You know, and we package, you know, initially packaging was for protection. You know, you packaged it to protect the product so it didn't get damaged, and then packaging became about look, feel, branding, style, aesthetics, and anything else, which has made it harder to move away from packaging. So even while portion size has gone down or the quantity size, and we have this shrinkflation, the actual product, the actual packaging hasn't actually changed. It still has to have a presence on the shelf, and so on. So it's and this kind of feeds partly into that kind of that customer education piece. You know, can we get our customers to still buy from us if our packaging isn't as attractive as our competitors, but it's our product is half the size, but it's the same quantity that's in it from a
yeah. In the past, we've kind of really leaned into that though. So I've had clients who would say, you know, my packaging is bare bones, you know, it's really simple. But then, you know, it just became a thing of, you know, encouraging the customers, you reuse it again. It's perfect for you to reuse, you know, re-gift it. I encourage you to do it. And I think I read somewhere it's like it's nearly 8% of all waste in Ireland produced is packaging waste. So it's definitely something that, you know, it needs to be targeted sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of standing at the pack your own groceries shelf in Lidl and just taking all the packaging off my stuff and leaving it there. I think if you make it somebody else's for the supermarkets, we take picking the supermarkets at the moment, it's not their problem because we bring it home and we've to sort it out. Make it their problem. They'll make it their supplier's problem, and then soon enough we'll see a change, and hopefully more of these kind of refill. You know, if we think about the initiatives we're trying to bring into place, you know, towards sustainability, and we're talking about innovation, shopping local. I mean, Jesus, it's hardly a new idea. You know, bulk buying. You know, pick and mix we had when we were kids. But even going in and pay by weight and pasta by weight and rice by weight, loose vegetables, you know, these are all things we're talking about going back in time here to be innovative. You know, and that's really important as well. And we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're just probably trying to get back to when things just weren't as bad and then see where we can innovate with new ideas and new technologies as well, which brings us on to kind of digitalization. Look, turning our, here today, prime example of, of digitalization. If we wanted to have a meeting or a seminar or something like this, even prior to COVID, and realistically, it's not that long ago. COVID was probably the enabler for all of this. But if we wanted to have this kind of session, we'd be looking at having them live, getting people to drive, having teas and coffees, all of that kind of thing, in order to get a message out there about a particular service or offering or initiative or idea. But digitalization and that advance towards digital transformation that we've all adopted so quickly in the last couple of years has brought us onto platforms like this very readily. So it's important to utilize that as well. Again, we can use it to create digital versions of our products and services, things we did in person in the past or physically in the past. Think of the reduction in printing that's probably happening now. We don't print as many business cards, as many leaflets, as many brochures. We tend to send digital assets as well. So really digitalization and using digitalization for those obvious things, but really as well for improving our services and our products and improving the customer experience as well. Using modern technology or more modern versions of machines that are more efficient and more effective, but only when our other machines have kind of hit the end of their life cycle. I think you might know the metrics on this, but they say the most efficient or the most sustainable or environmentally sound car you can own is the one you currently own, not the one that it's the one you already have. And taking that to the full end of its life is the right thing to do. And that might be a bit of a pain when you're paying 600 or 700 quid a year in tax because it's not energy efficient. It's definitely better than scrapping it and going down and buying a new car and creating that demand as well. In terms of modularization, again, we talked about Fairphone earlier on, but having a product that components can be replaced on it, make it easier to service it, extend the life cycle of it. Excuse me. Make it repairable, customizable, whatever it is. But really looking at ways to make our products just have a longer lifespan, and that's what it is with modularization. Converting trash to cash, okay, in terms of innovation, looking at products that previously were thrown in the bin and trying to make new products from them as well. Okay, so capturing or intervening in the waste cycle, removing products from waste, capturing them before they go to landfill, and making new products from them. Hopefully products that can have a longer life cycle as well than what the previous ones had. You're laughing there, Sophie.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I had a client this year who's a hairstylist. Sorry, but she actually, the hair cuttings that were generated just naturally every day, she actually uses them as compost. So she would, so the town that she operates in is quite small, but she'd every 2 or 3 weeks, she'd just hand out, the local farmers who do grow their own vegetables, bags and bags of hair for them to use. Like, she's not selling them, she's not making a profit on it, but it's kind of seen as this thing as, this client benefits the community in this way because she provides it. She's using, the waste associated with her business, but it's mad. It's something that never even crossed my mind beforehand.
Yeah, hopefully they're composting it. Yeah, and they'll just have a collection of women's hair they will find in some farm someday. But yeah, absolutely, it's just finding a way to use things, finding a way to use things as well. So that trash to cash, and I mean, there's lots of things we see here. You'll see lots of businesses popping up that use recycled, reclaimed, all of that. And I mean, I talk about it here at home in terms of the recycling issue. Recycling is fine. It's better than landfill, but it's only just better. And there is a hierarchy in terms of the life cycle of our products. It's better not to have produced at all. And I know that kind of better to not to have, but it's better to have loved and lost than not to have loved at all. I'm sure we can rework that phrase into better to have not produced than to recycle. I don't know, I'm making a mess of it here. But yeah, look, absolutely with these things, and I say it to my kids as well. They tell me stuff can be recycled. And I was like, yeah, but it'd be better if we didn't have it in the first place, or didn't have to use it as well. And especially these bands. I don't know if you ever see these kind of elastic or kind of rubber bands they get, for different things, whether it be their local GAA team or the county colours, or world peace, and they get this rubber band they put on their wrist. And I've seen one there recently which was talking about the environment, and I'm just thinking of, like, here's essentially a landfill item that's promoting sustainability, and just that kind of thought process. And this is what the canvas can do, is start to think about where is our product going to end. I think the branding and promotional materials industry probably is starting to face up to that with their wooden products and their pens. But why are we producing them to a certain extent? Good point in here from Ronan. The theory that if your recycling bin is full, you need to look at your consumption. Yeah, potentially. Yeah. Yeah, I think it depending on how often it's emptied. Ronan would be a good point here as well. But yeah, consumption. Yeah, rather than recycling is what can we do to lower our consumption as well, which is probably the biggest issue that's not really tackled at the moment. Differential pricing here. So differential pricing here can be used. This is kind of more of a people or a community impact of this triple bottom line, is having a products priced based on the affordability of the customers to buy them. And we're not talking like within a country, or perhaps across the world. So if you have a drug manufacturer that can sell a product for X amount of dollars in the US, and they sell it for Y amount of dollars in the developing world, to make it more affordable as well. And again, that promotes kind of social inclusion, growth of market share, and improving the community aspect as well. Our old favorite after digitization, lean manufacturing, lean services, and there's some service companies on here as well. Lean manufacturing, or a lean approach to how we do business, really looks for the elimination of waste from our processes, okay? Making sure we create more value. You remove waste from a process, you get a better yield on the effort that you put in. Get a better yield, you use less energy, less time, less materials, all of those as well. They will have financial impacts. So in terms of reduced costs, reducing the time it takes to improve, to get things to our customers. But then they also have sustainability aspect to it as well. Remote maintenance, so finding ways to actually not have to travel to site to fix things, but being able to fix them from remote locations as well. So being able to dial in to a location. We'll have seen it for a number of years with IT companies, where they're actually able to dial into our laptops or connect in virtually to our desktops and actually resolve an issue that's there. Now we're seeing, with the onset of the Internet of Things, smart devices, people can dial into our alarm system, our washing machine, our TV, and reset things as well. We're also dialing in more ourselves as well, with the advent of more software products being kind of cloud-based. We're not having to yeah, absolutely. Geo will forward on the canvas and stuff afterwards, and be in the shared resource folder. Yeah, we've seen that we're more cloud based, so we don't have servers running inefficiently in our own offices. We're able to dial up to the cloud to access things as well, which means that if something needs to be updated or changed, it's actually updated or changed. It's changed in a central location, and we dial up to connect into it as well. There's some examples of innovations there as well. So if you have anything to add to those innovations, I mean, you probably some good examples of.
Yeah, well, look, it's everywhere, Stuart. Like, I know the examples you gave are quite global, but really it's absolutely everywhere. It's come back to the thing, like, dematerialization is something that comes up all the time. And I suppose it's important to explore them as much as you possibly can, and to kind of investigate, how feasible is it? What can I actually do? What can I get out of it? You don't have to commit to anything, but at the very minimum, you should be investigating, where you can innovate and what it will cost you. Yeah, no, I think they're all excellent examples. Stuff that, you know, it's a funny thing. I feel like the more you innovate, and then you get this kind of thing, it becomes the norm and it's expected, and then you have to continue innovating. The process is it's quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, and you know, we've had a couple of interesting projects and cases in the last couple of months. But
Mm.
one that kind of sticks out for me, you know, without naming the business, you know, was a service-based online business. It was an
Mm-hmm.
online sales business that sold online courses, and you know, they wanted to do something for their sustainability, but you know, businesses like that, and I mean, a lot of people will kind of ask and answer this question themselves, will say, you know, well, what can we do? You know what I mean? So if you
Mm-hmm.
look around, if you're an office-based business, you look around and you'll see, you know, okay, we've done our LED lights, you know,
Yeah.
we're cloud-based, we've got as up-to-date laptops as we can afford. The lights are on timers. We work remotely where possible to save on the mileage in and out. So there's those obvious kind of things that we can do. But for this particular company, it was using the canvas here to think
Yeah.
about the the
Yeah. It
the,
was
the,
so
the next step, their users, their customers, and how they
exactly.
interact.
Exactly. It came back to, we really focused in on the responsible customers aspect of that canvas, and say, well, look, they were an remote e-commerce industry. You know, they had, their carbon footprint was very minimal. You know, everything was completed online. But it kind of became this question, okay, how do we, you know, induce change further down the line? So it became a thing of, you know, what can the company do to influence behavior? So I think with this particular client, they were an online teaching industry. So we created, I think, sustainability modules really focused on, you know, how to like act sustainably and ethically, you know, when you travel, and then so we'd kind of, okay, we're focusing on, you know, the clients that we come into contact with. That's great, but how do we further kind of keep this knock-on effect going? So then it kind of became a thing of, okay, so what can we teach the teachers who will then teach the students? So it became a thing of, all right, what lesson plans can we create for these learners or these teachers to, you know, introduce in their own classroom? What knowledge can we kind of pass on down the line? So that was a really interesting one, kind of really outside the box. And it definitely took, I suppose, it took us a little while to get there in terms of trying to get maybe tangible outcomes. But I think the knock-on effect is absolutely brilliant. Like it was fantastic.
Yeah, and I mean, if you take a travel agents, for example, and you know, we all know we go on holidays this summer if we can afford to, that will be polluting. You know, that's just the reality of it. We'll be jumping on the plane, in the cars up to Dublin Airport, and onto the plane, and off we go, polluting our way over to France or Spain or somewhere sunny. I mean, as an add-on from an education piece with travelers like that is, you know, giving those customers information about how to be responsible when they travel. You know, if they're traveling to a different culture, the developing world, you know, what they can do when they're there, to reduce their impact that it's taken them to get there as well. So it's kind of like living with the, you know, well, we've done the bad thing by traveling, we've done the consumption. Now, can we do to offset that a bit and just, you know, behave a little better, change our behavior to lower the impact as well. But yeah, some great kind of stories coming through, and hopefully over the course of Enterprise Week, and I know we have some case studies coming in the pipeline. We'll start to see some more of them as well. But I guess from that as well, service, manufacturing, trade, whatever you do, there's an opportunity to kind of, you know, reflect on what you do from a triple bottom line perspective, and actually start to do something from there as well. And that's all you can do, is you can do something to have kind of a positive impact. And then from there, if everybody does something, some of us will be able to do more than others, or have more of an impact, because of the type of businesses or operations that we're doing. And if everybody does that, everything will get a little bit better as well. I mean, one final tool I just cover very briefly, I'm going to conscious of of the time as well, was this like a sustainability SWOT. So we're all familiar with probably familiar with a SWOT analysis, where we look at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats within a business. But again, it's looking at it with this external environmental and social challenges. So what's coming down the line, you know? What are the risks to our business? Like if there's a war, if there is a fuel shortage, if prices go up, you know, which we've all felt a pinch of. I know you were talking at an event yesterday with Laois Chamber of Commerce in Port and there was a lot of hotels there, you know, and rightly so, you know, wanted to know, you know, what were we going to do about the cost of energy? And the reality is, well, I mean, we can do nothing. What we can do is we can talk about how we consume energy, ways in which we can consume it more efficiently, ways in which we can improve our yield. But we can't do anything about the price. But the price is the price is the price, all day long. Yeah.
The point is to just be, you know, start thinking about, you know, a little bit of soul searching here. I think is needed to try and recognize, okay, what's coming down the line. Like I was working with a client last year who he'd noticed in the last little while, he ran a leisure at a water park, very small, but he noticed it's actually getting really hard to get chlorine, and it's getting really, really expensive. And, you know, chlorine's a really central component for, you know, for disinfection. So he kind of recognized, look, there's something kind of happening here. We need to switch away from this. I can't rely on it anymore. So he'd actually switched over to a completely different disinfectant process involving, you know, UV lights and glass filtration systems. And now we're kind of finding out it is nearly impossible to get chlorine, and to buy it is actually so expensive. You know, I also have another client who is, you know, they're aware that, you know, water charges is definitely something that's coming up more frequently. And I know we had it kind of dealt with that in the past, but they're kind of recognized, look, there's no way around it. In the next few years, we're going to have to start paying for water. So they introduced a grey water recycling system. So, you know, they can't change external factors. They can't change not being able to get chlorine or not being or being charged for water. But there's certainly ways that you can adapt beforehand to kind of lessen the headache further down the line, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I often think back as well to the just as you were talking about that client, I think I won't mention names here, but the guest house, and this comes up for a lot of cases with hotels, and I know we talked about this in depth internally, about hotels, from a lean perspective and a sustainability, but the waste of the towels in the hotel rooms, and we see hotels starting to tackle that, and you know, make clear labeling, pass some of the behavior on the responsibility onto the customer to choose the towels and to be clear around what towels that they've used. But changing and offering, and this is where we were trying to get to this, you know, premium or sustainability premium. You know, if you change your this was a small guest house in rural Ireland, who was struggling to compete with the rising costs. And you know, as part of this process, we discussed, you know, innovating in terms of making it a sustainable destination. You know, making people practices like request the towels or bring their own towels and bring them home. You know, and making various different changes to that. But you know, for that business owner, you know, those changes were probably changes too far. But there are things that you can do to, you know, to change your offering if it's not right. And I think this is where the SWOT analysis comes in. It's looking at the macro trends that are out there, and the challenges that are coming, and saying, well, what impact is this going to have, or going to bring to my business or our business, as well. So really, what are the environmental and social challenges and the big trends? You know, then carry out the SWOT analysis with a triple bottom line focus, and then try and come up with some actions from that, over the next kind of period of time to start to address them. As you mentioned with the chlorine there, noticing something is happening. You know, we have the war in Ukraine, knowing something comes from Ukraine that we actually need, and then starting to see what are we going to do to offset that, as well. Again, these things tend to drive action, where in the past we haven't kind of driven action to a huge extent. Big question now, as we always going to ask, is now what are you going to do about this? You know, I might just get a little I might just get people to pop in the chat. Are people planning to carry out a sustainability initiative in the coming weeks or months? And just a yes if you're planning to do something like that, or no if you're not. And so Matthias is yes. Couple of yeses kind of coming in there as well. I would say to you, if you're Irish based, if you're based here in the island of Ireland, there are various supports that you can access, whether that be through the local enterprise office, through the IDA, through Enterprise Ireland. These are funded, almost fully funded initiatives that will support you to, you know, complete an initiative like this with an expert supporting you to execute it, and to get that kind of that facilitated, um, um, uh, pushed, driven kind of conversation to challenge you on the way you do things in a business. So those supports are out there, whether it be from the local enterprise office with the Green for Micro, Enterprise Ireland and IDA with Green Starts. They can look at your business from an innovation perspective, but also from a consumption, energy usage, energy audits, carbon footprints. All of that kind of falls into the remit of this. The canvas is just a starting point. Sophie, would you agree? It's the starting point. It's the starting tool for
Yeah,
kicking
it's
all
almost
this
like
off.
a brain dump, really, is the way it kind of starts out
Brain
as.
dump. Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting it all out there,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of pent up energy around sustainability, and what do I do? How do I do it? Who do I target? And it creates a little bit of clarity there, which is, I suppose, the main benefits of it. But yeah, it's definitely where I would start. If I was
Yeah,
working with someone.
and look, the obvious things are, I mean, any kind of green initiative that you do, whether you're supported or not, it's going to include your carbon calculations, your energy consumptions, all of that.
Mhm.
But they're just telling you what you're doing, and so many, and not that this is where green initiatives fail. A lot of green initiatives are based on measuring what you're doing. And usually they're led by a need to reduce costs or find new suppliers that can help feed our energy. And what we try to push back with, and it's just you push back with in your own organizations and businesses, is, can we innovate from this? Yeah, can we change providers and get LED lights and get timers and do all that stuff? Yeah. But can we innovate from here? Can we innovate on how we create, deliver, and capture value within our organization from a sustainability perspective, and really from the triple bottom line? So what we do when we take part in or lead green innovations within our organization, that we do hit that triple bottom line, that we put one in the pot for people, one in the pot for the planet, and one in the pot for profit for the business as well, sustaining all of the jobs as well. Okay, guys, it's just coming up to 11:15. Well, it is 11:59, coming up to 12. So if you have anything to add before we let everybody go.
No, I'll stay on the call if anyone has any questions, or just give me a shout.
Okay.
No, I think we're good to
Super.
go.
Thanks a million for your time today, Sophie. The
No
next
worries.
session is on March 15th at 11 a.m. Julie will be taking that one. It's the future of the hybrid workplace. So it's in our people series. I think Andre's there. He's going to pop a link into the chat. If it's not in the chat, it'll go out with the email with the recording and so on later on. So that's the future of the hybrid workplace with Julie and with Jennifer Dowling. Likewise, you can keep in touch. Follow us on the LinkedIn group. Follow Jigsaw on LinkedIn. Follow us on Eventbrite, and join the mailing list, which you're all on now because you're all here anyway from there as well. Any questions? Any queries? And you want to talk to us a bit more about the Canvas, or how you'd use it, or how you can access any of those supports, we will pop it in an email, or you can just get in touch, jigsawbetterbusiness.ie/get in touch, or just fire us a mail. But for now, I'll say good afternoon. It is afternoon now, Matthias, eventually, and we'll let you all go. Thanks a million.
Thanks, guys.